Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. This is number 2 in the series of Ask the Artist. So in a vain attempt to try and answer some of your questions, I've got quite a big one to hopefully try and answer today. So this one comes from Sylvia Fialka, great name, via Instagram. So thank you for your question, Sylvia. And she writes, what is the best way to promote your art? Well, that's a pretty big question because there's just an almost endless amount of ways that you can do that. I've got 10 little golden rules, if you like, the things that I've proven to be pretty successful. Number 1, I think the most important one, certainly from my point of view, possibly, is to have a website. Now look, let's be honest, if you exhibit with galleries or you're not technically minded, or whether you're just happy just to sell a few pieces here and there, the fact is if you're trying to reach people that want to buy your work, having a shop window for it is incredibly important. Now, that shop window could be your Facebook fan page, nothing wrong with that. It could be your Instagram account, could be your Etsy page. We'll come on to those networks in a minute. But if your name is John Smith and you've got johnsmithart.com and you say, hi, yeah, no problem, go and have a look at my website. It's very professional if you can send people to a site that is yours. Secondly, your website has to be good. Honestly, I could probably spend the next 2 weeks talking about how to make a website good and reachable for the search engines and giving a good user experience. I'm sure if you've been onto websites already, you probably know that if you're on your mobile or a tablet or you're on a mobile network somewhere rather than Wi-Fi, that if it doesn't load very quickly, it gets very annoying. Lots of things like that. So we could go into that, but that's definitely for another day, another dollar. But that's the first win, is having a point you can send people, and that really should be a website. Okay? So that would be my first one. The second probably would be to not ignore social media. Now, there's a great many sites: Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Pretty much the list goes on, and I think most of us have probably got an account with them by now, with one of these social media networks, which is fine. I can only speak from experience, but it's not a sales channel for me. Okay, my work is highly priced, probably, and that kind of money, you have to consider what you're doing with it rather than just splashing out, and buying something. So I understand and use social media really for getting the message out there, and for using it for feedback as well, because I think that's quite important. But as a sales tool, it doesn't work for me. So I understand that and use it for different reasons. So social media is a great way to get feedback, that's what I'd say. And it will give you a barometer on what's hot and what's not. On that subject, and we might come across the Q word again, and the Q word is quality. If you're going to use Instagram and you're going to use Twitter and Facebook, cover a whole broad range of subjects. That doesn't mean what you've had for your lunch or a picture of your cat. That's for another time, another day. This is about you, who you are, your brand, promoting yourself. And that really should be as professional as you can make it, with high quality photos, high quality copy and content, and involve people with what you're doing. So if you're painting or you're sculpting one day, show some behind the scenes stuff, maybe some macro photos, some close-ups, some soft focus shots, that kind of thing. But involve everybody in the process as well as the finished article. You can take pretty good quality photos with smartphones these days, but nothing beats an SLR camera, in my opinion anyway, and a decent lens. And they're things that you might want to invest in because you can get the best reproduction for your work. And when the quality of what you're presenting is good, your market will have a perception that your art will follow suit, if that makes any sense. So number 2 is social media, definitely a way to promote. Sorry, I'm just avoiding walking on paintings as I talk to you. So the next point 3, shopping platforms, online shopping platforms. So I've probably mentioned 1 or 2 already. Etsy, Fine Art America, what else have we got? Saatchi Art, there's one. I'm sure that will raise a few pulses with some people. House or Who's, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. Art Finder, all these kind of places. Never used any myself. I used Saatchi, never had anything happen once. But I understand that there can be quite a good way of getting exposure, and if you set your page up correctly, and you can direct people that come onto your Facebook page to those pages, then you stand a chance. So although it's not for me, the feedback I've got from various people is that, some of these can work. But again, they'll sap your time and energy if you want to keep them up to date. So make sure if you are going to keep them up to date, that you do it regularly. And there's two buzzwords I use really with everything I do, and that's consistency and relentlessness. So those words will probably come up sort of time and time again, but be consistent if you're going to use online shopping platforms. The next thing I'd say, and this moves on from your website, if you've set it up properly, then set up a newsletter. Once a month, 6 weeks, I'm pretty lax on mine. Mine doesn't go out, really. It goes about 3 times a year because I'm just stuck for time. But every potential visitor that you can get to your website, convince them to sign up for your email newsletter, I should say. That way, you've got some email addresses and you've got people who are engaged actively in your work. So surely it makes sense to update them on a regular basis with what you're doing. If they don't want to subscribe anymore, they'll just unsubscribe. I'm sure we all get emails every day of the week from things we've subscribed to. We have a quick look and we delete it. Fine, fair enough. But at least reach your audience. If they're coming to you, get them to sign up for a newsletter, or try and persuade them this is a really good thing to do, and then give them updates every 3 or 4 weeks. Again, you've got to be consistent with it. I slap myself on the wrist for that because I'm pretty inconsistent. Okay, so another way is a blog. Now blogging's a big topic I could split down, but basically, even if you don't necessarily want to build yourself a website, start talking about what you're doing. Start writing them in 3 to 5 to 600 word topics. So I'll give you an example, okay? If you're a sculptor and you might want to talk about the tools that you're using, or if you're working in clay, the kind of problems that you have working in clay, how you first started using the material, why you enjoy using it, tips and tricks for other people using it. Do you see what I mean? You can take one subject, flower arranging, ballet dancing, and you can write all kinds of stuff about it. Point 6 really isn't sort of a point as to I don't know, pursuing your promotion for your art, but it's the buzzwords. Be relentless, be consistent. I had a good friend tell me that a very long time ago, just show up every day. Do something every day. Even if you feel terrible, get to the coalface and go and do something. For me, it's driving to the studio and going to go either paint or do something or sit and think here, but do something every day that's a bit different or a bit better than the day before. So it's not really a way to promote, but it's a mindset. It's a mindset. 7, I'd probably say, would be to engage your local community. So if you've got local fairs, cafes, restaurants, approach them, all that sort of kind of stuff. Can you get active with schools? Can you write a blog post on that? Can you get that onto your website? Put that onto your local social media and get your local media to cover things, whether it be online or in print. All that can be done. 8, I've kind of got down as networking. I don't do an awful lot of that because there's no market kind of really where I'm at, that I've managed to find anyway, because of the styles of houses that people have around here. But local business breakfast meetings, I'm still walking over this painting, I really ought to move it. Local business meetings, these breakfasts and brunches where you can network with local businesses, that's always a good thing. Any kind of local community groups, that kind of stuff, any kind of exposure, certainly locally, helps get your name out there. 9 really is not one of my favourite ones, and that's the cold call. I don't mean necessarily picking up the telephone, but it's sending an email. Hey, look at me, I'm really good, I've got something that I think you would really benefit from. These things tend to need quite a bit of preparation and a bit of thought. I don't really think you can just sort of run into them and think, I'm going to sit down today and write to 20 random hotel chains and see if I can sell them some art. That just does not happen. You need to do your research properly. If you're going to approach businesses, organisations or individuals, find out who it is you need to get in touch with first. That's the golden rule. If, for argument's sake, it's a restaurant chain, find out who's in charge of their refurbishments or the procurement managers, that kind of thing. Get email addresses. The phone calls you need to make really should be to establish that kind of information, but it can be done. I've done that before now, and sometimes it's successful, sometimes not. But if it's on your list of things to do, do it. Don't find an excuse, do it. Finally, point 10, again, maybe save this for another day. Galleries. Okay, I choose not to go with a gallery for a whole host of reasons, but that's a personal thing, and we can't ignore the fact the gallery network is still very strong, whether it be online or physical. If you can find a good one, they're fantastic, they're brilliant. But me personally, I don't go with them. But that's another way to help promote your work, and then the gallery will do that for you. There's obviously a percentage of money that they take because they have to stay in business. But there you go. That's another outlet. There's probably another 15 or 20 different ways that you can promote your work. But in an effort to try and keep this short as possible, he said, running into 12 minutes. I think a minute and a half a point hopefully just gives you some kind of little insight into what you can do to maybe start and kick things off a little bit. Anyway, I hope you found that enjoyable. Feel free to tune into some more videos, and if you've got a question that you'd like to ask me, drop me a line at info@swarez.co.uk, and I will do my best to answer them. All right, have a good day. See you on the next one.